When modern agriculture began separating crops from wild land, it also separated farmers from one of their oldest forms of pest control. Ancient landscapes were not divided into clean fields and useless margins. They were mosaics. Between grains, orchards and gardens existed deliberately maintained pollinator pastures, zones of flowering plants that fed insects all season long. These areas were not decorative. They were functional defences. When I began reconstructing this pattern, instead of fighting pests directly, the change was, well, unmistakable. Insect pressure declined, not because insects disappeared, but because balance returned. This was not innovation. It was recovery of a system history never abandoned until very recently. Ancient pollinator pastures existed to feed beneficial insects continuously, not just seasonally. You see, these pastures provided a steady supply of nourishment for the insects, ensuring their presence and activity throughout the entire year. Historical records from Roman agriculture, medieval Europe, and pre-industrial Asia describe flowering margins, fallow strips and grazing meadows rich with herbs and wildflowers. These areas ensured that predatory insects, parasitic wasps, hoverflies, lacewings, and native bees never left the landscape, which, you know, was really quite vital for healthy ecosystems. The mistake of modern gardening is feeding pollinators only during bloom periods. Ancient systems avoided this gap. By maintaining diverse flowering pastures with staggered bloom times, beneficial insects stayed active all year round. Pests never reached outbreak levels because, well, their predators were always present. Pest control really worked because the system favoured predators over prey. Insect pests thrive in simplified environments. You see, monocrops offer uninterrupted food and no refuge for predators. But ancient pollinator pastures, they interrupted that pattern. They provided nectar, shelter, overwintering sites and breeding habitat for beneficial insects. This meant predators reproduced faster and survived longer than pests. Instead of reacting to infestations, ancient farmers prevented them through, ecological advantage. The field itself became, well, hostile to imbalance. These pastures were deliberately planted, not left to chance. Contrary to the idea of unmanaged wilderness, pollinator pastures were curated. Historical herbals and farm manuals list plants chosen for long flowering periods, resilience and insect attraction. Common species included yarrow, fennel, dill coriander, clover, chicory borage, calendula, vetch and wild mustards. These plants fed both adult predators and larval stages. Some attracted aphids intentionally, providing food for lady beetles before crops were vulnerable. This deliberate sacrifice, actually protected the main harvest. The location of pollinator pastures mattered as much as the plants themselves. Ancient systems, interestingly, placed these zones at field edges, between plots, along paths, and near water. They acted as buffers rather than distant reserves. In practice, this means planting flowering strips directly adjacent to gardens, orchards, or beds. Distance really matters. Predatory insects operate within limited ranges, and when food and shelter are close, they patrol crops constantly rather than arriving too late. You know, one of the most overlooked lessons from history is continuity. If flowers disappear, insects leave or die. Ancient pollinator pastures avoided this by mixing early, mid, and late-season bloomers. A practical modern application is ensuring that something flowers from early spring through frost. This may involve letting herbs bolt, allowing wildflowers to self-sow, and, well, resisting the urge to tidy spent plants too early. The reward is a stable insect community that never collapses. Grazing and cutting were used to renew flowering without destruction. Ancient farmers managed pollinator pastures through light grazing or cutting, not removal. This encouraged regrowth and extended bloom periods. Today, this translates to selective trimming rather than clearing. Cutting sections at different times keeps flowers cycling. Leaving stems standing through winter preserves overwintering habitat for beneficial insects. Crop health improves because stress is reduced at the ecosystem level. When pest pressure drops naturally, plants expend less energy on defense. Growth becomes steady. Yields improve without intervention. This effect is cumulative. In my own garden, crops adjacent to flowering pastures showed fewer infestations and, they recovered faster from damage. The difference was not subtle. It was structural. Why modern systems forgot this method despite its effectiveness, well, that's a good question. Chemical pest control promised speed and uniformity. Pollinator pastures require patience and, honestly, a bit of tolerance for visual disorder. They do not fit industrial efficiency models. Yet history demonstrates that complexity is not inefficiency. It is resilience. Ancient farmers accepted wildness because, quite simply, it worked. So, rebuilding pollinator pastures, well, it actually starts with stopping removal rather than adding inputs. The very first step is to simply leave flowering plants wherever they happen to appear. After that, the next step is to expand those zones, but do it intentionally. Oh, and seeds can be saved, swapped or sourced locally, Once established, these pastures maintain themselves. They reseed, adapt, and evolve with the land. Pest control becomes a background function rather than a constant battle. This method transforms pest control from reaction into prevention. Ancient pollinator pastures did not eliminate insects. They prevented dominance. That distinction matters. Life remained abundant, but balanced. If this kind of historically grounded, ecologically intelligent pest control aligns with how you think about gardening and land stewardship, subscribe to Hydra Haven for more methods drawn from systems that sustained agriculture long before modern chemicals existed. Share this guide with others who value balance over control and resilience over reaction.